Hi, my name is Shari Doherty, and I'm a lady in red, in Act 2 of my career and living my best life. My perspective on life and behaviors have been governed by who I was as a child, who I became, and who I am still striving to be. People my age are beautiful, bold, confident, and full of wisdom, and truly, the encore of the story of your life is still when the best songs are yet to be sung. My mission in this podcast is to shine the spotlight on people like me, have real conversations about reinvention stories, and inspire you to continue to follow your dreams regardless of your age. I'm doing it for Daisy. Who are you doing it for? Good day and welcome to today's episode of the Encore podcast. Today I am honored to have a guest with me who is a bit of a local celebrity, at least in my eyes. I have Pam Fountas with me today, who is a coach, entrepreneur, and speaker. I have seen her in many iterations of her career and always admired her, so I'm delighted to get to really know her today. Welcome to the show, Pam.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm very excited to share with everyone your story. You've always lit up a room anytime I've seen you speak. You also command a room, which is something that is honorable as well. So if you will, tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you were born and raised, what your childhood looked like, any highlights or lowlights that you're willing to share, and just a bit about who Pam is.
Yeah, of course. My name is Pam. Legally, I am Panayota, so I am a proud Greek first generation here, Canadian from my father's side, and second from my mother's. I really hold my culture close to me. And yeah, the story of Pam. I mean, I joke to people that I came out of the womb an entrepreneur and kind of a little one that was, was living women's empowerment before she even really knew what it was.
Wow.
But however, I'd say just like any other women's story is that, the narratives and the systems and the messages around us, can impact you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a little girl, if you asked me when I was 6 or 7, what was I going to do when I grew up? I was going to be the first girl in the NHL, or I was going to play World Cup soccer.
Oh,
And I laugh
cool.
because I remember the day that my dad told me, is it Manon Rioum? She was a goalie and she had played in the NHL. And I was like, what? I was like so angry.
It's not me.
You mean there's no potential to be the first one? Anyhow, needless to say, neither of those came to fruition. But there was definitely a little fire in little Pammy, for sure, that didn't necessarily last always consistently. Maybe perhaps was perceived externally that way, but internally, as I got older as a child and especially in my teen years, definitely the narratives of what our culture told women we should be more of did influence me, did have an impact. So it's inside, I always knew better, for lack of better words, but the messaging did impact me, as a young girl.
Mm-hmm. Where were you born and raised?
Kingston, Ontario. Yeah.
Okay, so you are Kingston through and through.
I am Kingston
Excellent.
through and through.
Where
yeah.
did you go to high school?
I was a LaSalle Black Knights.
Okay.
Very proud. Yeah. Black Knight alma mater.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was high school like for you?
So high school was what would have been perceived from the outside very full and very successful. Again, when I say from the outside, I had an amazing group of friends. I think we were all a little bit high achievers to a detriment to ourselves, right? So academic strong, played competitive, all the teams, all-star teams, loved sports. To be honest, lived and breathed sports.
Okay.
One of my best friends she's back in Kingston now, but a best childhood friend. We lived on the basketball courts, soccer, if I could play basketball and soccer morning, noon, and night, I would have. But I also really always wanted to do well in academics as well. And I think, to be honest, it was that young perfectionist, wanting to always push and do better, perhaps more from a place of proving yourself when you're young, right? Versus going after what you really want, so to speak, in hindsight, with much more self-aware lenses, extremely hard on myself. So again, like I said, from the outside, someone could say, okay, honor roll, awards, competitive athlete, head girl on student council. Again, I say these things and it almost makes me, what do they say nowadays? Cringe, the young ones?
Right.
To say, and I only say that because I know what was perceived on the outside, but that mental narrative of I could always, can I be even better?
Yeah, so what was going on the inside, if you would share?
Yeah, well, of course I will share. It's part of my story. It shaped everything. I was I think that pressures of a woman from our culture, to be. I grew up in the 90s, right? Beverly Hills 90210, and then Jennifer Aniston and Friends,
Melrose
and the very
Place.
ectomorphic, women got applauded, right? Like the very, very thin ideals in the 90s. Even more so, I think, than now, I would say 100%.
Yeah.
Even though that narrative's trying to come back, but I won't go there yet. But yeah, I definitely was impacted by that. And I would say that, again, my immediate circle, because we were the high achieving girls, we were all impacted by that, right? So it's like, it was kind of like, you have the check mark in later life that people give you, that check mark list of maybe, get married, get the house, have kids. I feel like in your teen years, or how I perceived, it's like, okay, I got to be successful at school. I got to be a top athlete. I got to be attracted to the guys. I got to be thin. Check. Right?
Yep.
And so I think that, I know that, do you know what I mean? That pressure, was huge as a young girl, and it completely derailed a lot of things for me, you know?
I think I will share, but I think I took my first diet pill when I was 12.
Yep.
And same era.
Yeah.
You're a little bit younger than I am, but same era. And what? Right?
Honestly, and and I'm very open about it online and in past stories. And I used to do charity fundraising for it. I fell into a full-blown eating disorder, right? Now, it's really interesting because now in my more self-aware years now, and having done so much work around, and I look back and I'm like, yes, we could call it an eating disorder, 1,000% for sure, and we will. I sought help for it, whatnot. But at the end of the day, in my mind, it was a young girl who, what she was struggling to get the culture gave me the solution, right? The culture said, this stress and this problem will go away if you'll be thin, right? You won't have to worry about getting into university if you'll be thin. Like at the end of the day, I look back and I was like, I was just really trying to support myself in getting to my goals, but by doing things that were extremely detrimental to my health, and it really started to diminish who I was and take away my power when you're trying to shrink, and then you're wearing too much clothing because people are calling you too thin, but then you don't want people to know about your secrets, but you still, it just was, I look back, I feel like I'm genuinely talking about a whole different lifetime right now. I really, truly do. And, there was a lot of people that surrounded me that definitely, in my close circles, that felt prey to our culture. And I say that because I strongly say that, we're not born as little girls hating on ourselves or thinking we need to be smaller. Like, I look at my adorable little niece right now, almost 2 years old, and just like pulling up her shirt and showing her tummy and running around, and like, we're not born that way. So please, and I've had loving parents that never told me there was anything wrong with my body. Like, I didn't grow up with people telling me, literally in my immediate circle, that there was anything wrong with me.
Right.
And still, I fell rock bottom to it.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Yeah. I know that you had said I guess as you got into your later teen years, you had, kind of a life-changing time as well. Could you share a little bit more about that?
I'll 100% share, because I think that catapulted me into my next life chapter. Like, call it my Encore chapter at the rock bottom at 19. And it was, I know, the old soul, I guess, right? But no, truly, I remember.
Well, wait a second. You're only 40, so that was the midpoint.
There you go.
At this point.
Actually, yeah, there you go.
Light bulb
Boom.
moment.
Light bulb moment. That was truly my Encore. It makes sense.
It does make sense now. There you go.
Yeah, it makes sense. It was, I rock bottom, so to speak, or that catapulting of that next chapter. I had headed off to McGill to study commerce, and I was part of the double cohort year. So remember when they cut out the OAC? So I was the last OAC, and my sister was right behind me. So we're only 17 months apart. We're really close, so close that we got to play on some sports teams. Growing up together, because we were only one grade apart. But anyway, so I think there's a big cohort of kids off to university, and by the time I'm there, I'm like questioning everything. And I chose commerce because I'm extremely entrepreneurial. And I also feel like I chose commerce because it's like in the thick of the eating disorder. Okay, I was envisioning like, it's like this super skinny, successful corporate, like she had to do things a certain way.
We wanted to be Amanda from Melrose Place.
Perhaps.
Heather Locklear. So we all needed to be powerful and beautiful and
And
That
that
was
was
my
the
vision.
way,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's like that was the way instead of being like, hang on, they don't teach you entrepreneurship in McGill
Right.
Commerce. And not I think, but I know what happened is behaviorally, I was starting to heal a bit from eating disorder stuff. And in my much wiser, deeper, I take a look back at little Pammy, and what totally happened is that the eating disorder almost reared its head really, really loudly as a red flag. Like, you are not listening to yourself. Get the F out of here.
Right.
I did not feel like I belonged. I did not want to be in that program. I wanted to make moves in the world in a different way. It did not feel like that in that moment.
Right.
And I was grateful and blessed enough to get the support to leave the program, come home, and ended up what transpired out of that is actually getting the help that I needed, the supports that I needed, and then getting ready to go study kinesiology and minor in psych.
Interesting.
With the whole kind of idea is just, I want to help women on a big level. So
Right.
the rock bottom for me, I still remember, and I can still remember the journal entry, is just really taking a look around. And it wasn't just about women counting calories and wanting to be skinny. It's like suddenly it hit me. I'm like, this is about so much more than that, right? And I was like, where are the women who are happy with themselves?
Right.
Like, body aside, happy with themselves. Where are the women running careers and living their lives like in ways that just like really worked for them? Where are the women speaking up, and saying what they wanted and what they needed? And I just remember turning around and being like, where are these women? And it broke my heart I felt like I was constantly coming up against women like apologizing for ordering French fries while I was serving them, or, diminishing the value of themselves because their jeans were a particular size, right? Like, whatever it was just, there
Right.
was always an apology for who the hell we were. And it really actually broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was really struggling with recovery and behavioral and letting things go. And I still remember going into my therapist one day and I told her what I had written. And I said, Bev, I said, I am only going to keep going if I could help other women take women along the way. I like it. This breaks my heart. And I remember she almost giggled and said, okay, this isn't about what your therapy is about,
Right.
but I have a feeling, Pam, that this is going to work for you.
Right.
And I just, that was a fire under me.
Clearly,
always.
it's your calling.
It really is, Shari. Honestly,
Right.
like, I could actually get emotional.
Mhm.
And I know it doesn't speak to everyone. But when people ask me why I do
It's okay.
so much of what I do,
Mm-hmm.
just open another business. Sometimes I think of another one. I actually don't know if I'd be good if I kept following it. Because there's so many times, Shari, be it because of personal relationships, be it in work, taking a job for someone else, that I would derail and I couldn't stay there long.
Right.
I could not.
Mhm.
I would literally almost get physically sick again.
Right.
And I have had those moments actually
Yeah.
since then.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could not be me if I didn't keep doing the things that I'm doing. I wouldn't be good. And I just genuinely feel whatever people believe in, God, spirit, higher power, whatever, has just plopped me here
Right.
in this moment in time and said, go, do it.
Your authentic self is awesome. I have seen you in action. And like I said, you are a light and an inspiration. So keep doing what you're doing because it's working for you. And it definitely is your calling and a gift. So that's beautiful. So where did you go then into your 20s after you had this realization that you had this gift or this calling?
Yeah, I got so excited about studying the human body for what it could do. And because of my own experience though, right? I really needed to dive into psychology at the same time.
Okay.
Right. So I kind of knew always that it wasn't just about the physical and I needed to do both. So I took off to McMaster University to study kinesiology and minored in psych. And we're talking circa 2000, trying to think, 2004 I started? 2004, because I had come back from McGill. And those were not the days that, we didn't have social media or platforms, any body positive platforms or
When there was no
health,
social media.
when no social media, I know, right? But there was no one talking about
Right.
like healthy, strong women. There wasn't as much of the empowerment stuff back then, like especially in the fitness space. The kicker for me is being someone who was personally so impacted by the cultural messaging, right? Which we know is so heavy in the fitness and the wellness space. And knowing all women around me were the same, but then carrying that message saying, if I'm gonna heal. I'm taking every one woman with me.
Right.
Well, I jumped right into the fitness career and marched to the beat of my own effing drum
Good
because
for you.
I couldn't do it any other way, and I couldn't look myself in the mirror
Right.
knowing I said or motivated women in a certain way that had them going home hating themselves. Zero chance.
Right.
Once I saw things, I couldn't unsee them.
Right.
In my rock bottom moment, I was reading books like The Beauty Myth, The Body Project. I was understanding. I was like, F you. I grew up in a loving family. No one ever told me there was anything wrong with me. You know, I played sports. I did well. I was a kind person. Why the F do I hate myself?
Right.
And I was so fiery in my early 20s, way more fiery about this because I was so mad
Right.
at the culture that was hurting so many people around me. So it's almost like I took it. I'm like, I'm going to fight back. And I think for me, well, fitness I've always loved as a competitive athlete, and I reclaimed it with weight training and resistance
Good
training.
for you.
I reclaimed it. I was lucky enough to have a mentor in high school. She's a local teacher here. I think she's still teaching, has been a principal. And her letting me into her story and me seeing pieces of how she chose to heal and being inspired by it and thinking how cool it was. Because lifting heavy dumbbells back in 2003, I was like one of 2 or 3 women in the weight room,
Right.
a few of them, right? And I'd get questioned, you know, even why. I remember some close friends, Pam, why are you lifting weights? And we're all on the elliptical, right? And I felt like, again, it was a calling. I knew how I could help women change their relationship to fitness, change their relationship to movement. I was willing to make a splash because 1, I had to, or I'd get sick again.
Right.
Right. And 2, I had just committed to helping women moving forward. McMaster University couldn't have been the better place to do it. I jumped in, got my PT cert, got my group fitness cert. By 4th year, I was the director of group fitness, and I literally had put in a policy in the damn manual that you could not use any verbiage and any motivating that was shameful for your body. So I didn't want to hear about, we're here just to burn calories, we're here to get rid of the friggin' turkey we ate. Like, I literally put that in the manual because you didn't need to. Because I had proven by then my classes were full. I had a wait list of clients. People were like, I always feel better after I leave your classes, and I don't know why. Well, I knew what I wasn't saying.
Right.
But I was still motivating AF again, like that, you know? And so I felt like it's like university was my time to kind of research the world. Can I be successful in the fitness and health world and not talk about like that we have to shrink ourselves? You know what I mean? And yeah, you can.
Yeah, you were a trailblazer for sure because those were early days in the body positivity movement.
There was no body positivity movement. Right? And I don't even know if that
good.
word lands, but it was just more like it doesn't have to be about shrinking and hating on ourselves. That's not why you're here. And I just knew too well. You take a look at statistics, and it was like in universities back then, it was like 1 out of 10 girls had a full-blown eating disorder. Yeah. And I knew even people, again, by the time I became director of group fitness, that women on my staff were struggling. So to put in policies that I knew would help them.
Yeah.
And
that's your legacy to that school.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's cool to still hear from some of the instructors back then too. And, you know, hear how much it helped them.
Right. So did you have a career in that and kind of like your 20s and 30s? What did that look like for you? Often people get in relationships, have children, buy houses, move, adventures. What did those days look like for Pam?
So the 20s for me, I say my first love because really he was. So I started dating someone right before actually I took off to McMaster. Okay. It organically happened. Was not looking for a boyfriend right before heading off to university. He was a Kingston boy. And, you know, that relationship has long ended now, but I will, you know, a reason, a season, a lifetime, I fully believe, and I'm able to really let go of, you know, perhaps not the great stuff, but know that he definitely was my partner at that point in my life for a reason. He was super supportive in terms of the healing stuff, in terms of cheering me on. He probably heard a lot of venting about what I thought about the patriarchy and what it was doing to women and our body image issues. You know, back then he's definitely served that reason. That was early 20s. And, you know, came back from university. To be honest, I came back for him in the relationship because I thought when I left Kingston, I was like, sayonara, this town is too small for me, right? Off to the GTA. Definitely came back for love. That transpired probably about a half a year or so once I came back. But at that point, I'd refallen in love with Kingston.
Okay.
Right.
It's a great place.
It's a beautiful place. And career started to fall together pretty quick. I was really passionate about fitness and overall wellness, like I said, like that underlying psychology tone. So was working at the Y. I started managing the fitness center at St. Lawrence College, and then quickly got brought on to teach a couple courses in phys ed there. So it was kind of cool too. What was funny is I was 24, 25, and like some of the students were my age,
Right.
right?
That's
But
fun.
it was fun. It was amazing experience. I'm guest speaking at the college tomorrow, and I love giving back when I can there. I love St. Lawrence College and what it does, and yeah. So I was doing that, and I feel like my personal brand started in university, as you heard little
Right.
remnants of. So at that time, the Y, you could kind of run your own business and train out of that gym too. So I more or less was started to see some clients, right? And everyone who kind of was attracted to my training style was like, I'm really getting a lot out of this coaching stuff too, Pam, right? So it was almost like life coach meets trainer
Right.
because I couldn't do it one way or the other,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and then yeah, Queen's School of Business. I ended up getting a position there to work in executive education. I wasn't looking for it. It fell on my lap, and to anyone listening, in terms of opportunity and alignment, that opportunity that was great for me at the time fell into my lap because of my excitement about talking about what I love to do while playing flip cup after a soccer game at Filthy McNasty's back in the day. And one of the girls on the soccer team said, your energy about your work and what you do. I remember just listening. So when an opportunity came up to run the lifestyle program in executive education, tried to find me in any way to say
Wow.
you need to apply for this, right? I think that's a lesson too, to just share what you're
Yeah.
interested in, and it doesn't matter where, even if you're playing flip cup
Oh,
post soccer
that's
game, you know.
you putting good energy in the universe and the universe responding, which is
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think that's important, right, for people to know and
100%.
hear, is that, you know, because I remember at the time Queens, a lot of friends of mine were trying to apply to get into Queens, and like, Pam, how did you do it? I went, I literally hadn't even looked at
Right.
the job descriptions at the Queen's University website, and I was really grateful for that opportunity. At the same time, though, as women were asking me to train them in Kingston, I went, I don't have time. So the running joke is my first weekend off at Queens in May 2009. That's when I started a business. And I thought, I can't train you all one on one, but I could put you in a group together a
Right.
few times a week. And back then, boot camps were very trendy, right? In
Yep.
fitness. And we could do all the things. We could do fitness, we could talk nutrition. And that was May 2009 of the long weekend. And that was 16 years ago. And Limitless Living for Women still
I
continues
remember
now
that.
in a
Mhm.
variety of iterations. It has
Yeah.
seen a variety of iterations. I've had full time in fitness. You know, I've worked out of different gyms and locations. But yeah, so my 20s, my 20s was a mix of love in my first half.
Mhm.
Personally, in the second half of my 20s, it was a mix. I wouldn't say love. I would say Pam a little bit lost when it
Okay.
came to that.
Mhm.
It came to finding yourself, when it came to that area of my life, so to speak. But really, really finding my way, because as I said earlier, is when I drifted off a little bit, I'd either get sick or I'd get lessons to come back to my path, right?
Right.
And in 2012, I got a really loud lesson.
Okay.
And it was when I was trying to do the job, intuition saying, follow all of these things, me going, how about I just do it all,
Mhm.
right? And also date the guy who's really nice, awesome, and a cute guy at the gym,
Mhm.
but I know is not for me,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And so put that all together, and before you know it, Pam's lying down, looking up, completely burnt out. I call it my crash and burn, having to just reassess,
Right.
right? And so, yes, my life up until that point was true to the girl wanting to take women along the way. However, the next part of the Encore chapter is you don't have to please everyone along the way.
Yeah.
You don't have to say yes to every effing inquiry or need from others.
Mhm.
You can actually listen to your own intuition and do it your own way. And you don't have to do things in a way maybe that other people are,
Mhm. Yep.
right? And so the lesson from there was just, I say, like, I created a life that my body, my mind didn't want to show up for. So they're like, oh, yeah, why don't you refine it a little bit and then we'll let you get going again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what was my 20s, was using my passion, getting to live it in a lot of different ways. However, being really accessible to almost any and everyone who wanted it, I'd
Right.
say.
Which can be
Actually.
exhausting and draining.
100%. And as someone who just really did want to help and
Right.
really did want to serve, it was hard to let go, of the Pam that knew she could do something, but maybe she didn't want to.
Right.
Right. And I say that with clients all the time. Yeah, you could do that in your business.
Mm-hmm.
You totally could do that. You'd probably even kill it. Maybe you'd even make millions doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to?
Right. Absolutely. So how did you reset and re-energize yourself?
Well, just grateful for an amazing support system, parents as rocks for me, close friends that are rocks. And so just kind of that gift of time to breathe and reassess, right? And I feel that is, I need to highlight that because that's a privilege. And I don't think everyone gets that in those moments, right?
Yep.
And that's when I left Queens.
Mm-hmm.
I left a lot of those commitments that I had known for a long time did not align for me.
Okay.
And I was like, I just got to do it my way. My way at that point was kettlebells in the trunk of my car, was training big groups out of the Greek Hall in downtown Kingston before I found my gym space, and then that led to more life coaching, more business mentorship, needing to get true to myself, even when my full-time gym at that point just wasn't serving me. I liked fitness. I didn't like it full-time. How could I leave that so I could make space for other stuff? That's
Right.
pretty hard to do when numbers are looking even really good and your accountant's saying, what in the hell are we closing this for?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think just that commitment coming out of that time to just, it was like full permission to say no, and I'm allowed to change my mind forever and ever and ever, Pam.
Right.
You're allowed to.
Oh, 100%.
And I say it to people. Me and my bestie, we laugh sometimes. We talk almost every day. And the one time I had said something about professionally that I was going to do, right? And the next day I had changed my mind. And she's like, oh, Pam, I thought you said yesterday. And I said, and you know what? Just like I would tell everyone else, since yesterday, I've gathered more information,
Right.
which means I now have different perspective, which means now today I allow myself and empower myself to choose different for me. And I mean, we don't have that necessarily, like we laugh and we joke, and then I put her in her place and she laughs at back and she'll, we have amazing conversations, but that's true.
Right. We're all constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And we don't know what we're evolving into, but it's a journey. And you do have new additional information all of the time.
All the time.
Also, I liked when you used the word intuition because sometimes things just don't feel right. And even whether you can pinpoint why or not, it's really important to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
And often, truth be told, I have not. And fast forward 3 or 4 months and something doesn't go the way I expected. And I go back and think, saw that coming.
I knew that
Predicted
already.
it, knew it, shouldn't have done whatever the thing was.
And,
so intuition is so important. It is a gift that women have as well.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was saying, us women have that.
Yeah.
We just, again, we've been handed so many freaking scripts on how we should show up, right? How we should live, how we should do business, how we should love, how we should do all of the things that when the script and our intuition conflict,
Right.
it can feel chaotic in our overthinking minds for a lot of us,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is the script is really loud because everybody's impacted by, the systems and the patriarchy, call it anything. So many people are walking around with all these limiting beliefs, and you've got to be really freaking mindful of who you're conversing with, what information you're digesting,
Right.
everything across
who
the
you're
board.
sharing your space and energy with, like, yeah.
Who you're
100%.
sharing your dreams, your hopes, or what your intuition is saying with, because there's a good chance, if someone hasn't done the work or doesn't have the ability to hold space in a judgment-free zone, which, I mean, it's not something that everybody is called to do, then yeah, it can make it murky and can make our intuition not as accessible.
Right. And
Right.
we all need clarity.
Ugh.
So I've watched you pivot and evolve and do some beautiful things. And I know you're doing something new again. So share with us where you're at now. You, first of all,
Yeah.
told me you just turned 40.
I did.
So happy belated birthday and
Thank
welcome to
ya.
the second half.
Oh, I kicked it off with a bang.
Good for you. That's
kicked it
awesome.
off with a bang.
Honestly, I love this. It's my favorite season of my life because the big responsibilities I've checked the boxes and I think I did them pretty well. I have
Awesome.
amazing children. I have a great life and good career, good husband, all the things. Now I just get to enjoy the goodness of it all. So welcome to this side.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Yeah. Well, my side looks a lot different. I didn't actually check any of the boxes, which I love for you,
Great.
right? And
Make your
ironically,
own boxes, sister.
I do make my own boxes, right? I'm sure that's the narrative people are getting from now. But ironically, it's not because I haven't wanted to,
Right.
and I think that that's something important to share, because it's interesting. I mean, I'm more than less. I gave up attempting even to control anyone's perspective or thoughts, right? But as someone who could be independent and could be passionate and outspoken about things, I've heard a lot of things under the sun in terms of what people might think that I want, right, for my personal life, and I love all of those things. You know what I mean? Like a partner and love, 100%. You know, I was in common law. I was a bonus mom, you know what I mean, in my 30s. And being a bonus mom was probably, I can't stay here for too long because I might get emotional, but probably hands down some of the best like experiences of my life, right? So even though I haven't checked them, I still say I haven't checked them yet,
Right.
you know? And so I hopes for me, not hopes, but I mean personal things that I'd love for myself, you know, moving forward is a family unit. And I've always been really open to the cards that life hands me. You know, it doesn't mean that I necessarily need to procreate. I love loving other people's children too. You know, so for me, for whatever reason, from a younger age, I made peace with what cards I'm going to get.
Right.
I love mothering in lots of ways.
Yep.
So that's that. In terms of professionally, I'm currently operating 3 very hands-on businesses, but have set them up, to be honest, in a way that don't totally kill me,
Okay.
are strategic, and can help in a variety of different ways. So the fitness business I spoke to is still going, Limitless
for
Living
you.
for Women, but it's going in a way that works for me, that allows me to still make an impact in that space, but doesn't consume so many hours I can't do other things. Right. So it's important for me to make an impact in that space and to stay in that space. Even in moments where I thought I'd retire from that space, I ran back probably within minutes, or so it seems in hindsight. And I also think it's just a great tool to invite women to have more conversations, like how we feel about our bodies, and we start to change that, man. In my opinion, we can start to change the world, because metaphorically speaking, that's attached to so much. So I will always keep that with me. My personal brand and my personal work, just as Pam Fountas, I've really leaned in the last handful of years, is business mentorship and coaching, specifically for women entrepreneurs. I'm working with a lot of service-based women entrepreneurs, and you know, from not just my experience, I've been a forever student in the space, right? I grew up family entrepreneurs. I told you I picked McGill Commerce because I was entrepreneurial. That was wrong, but anyways, you know, and just have always desired to help people that do want to rewrite their own rules, right? And that do want to make an impact on others. And I'm loving doing that right now.
That's great.
Right?
Good.
Super passionate. That being said, where the third business comes in is seeing a need from that, and seeing that a lot of women who are leaders want a space for more meaningful connection, want a space for fun, want a space for personal and professional growth and resources, want a space where they can feel seen, you know? And on the flip side, as someone who is, you know, and I say it humbly, quite connected in Kingston with so many beautiful people, I'd be on the other end of, hey, Pam, do you know so-and-so? Hey, Pam, can you help with this charity? Hey, Pam, this. Rewind to remember I crash and I burn by being that Pam saying yes to everything.
Right.
So this Pam seeing, oh, frick, there's so many amazing leaders, and I know I can help solve this problem, and I can get people in the room to do this, and I know this, but remember that lesson, you're not going to kill yourself to do it. But hang on a second. If I helped build an exclusive community of women who are leaders in Kingston, I'm getting goosebumps now, who are making an impact, who I know if one woman jumps into that space and says, I need this, she could have 50 to 100 women, boom, instantly ready to help solve it. Now we're talking.
Right.
Right? And to be quite honest, I was like, there is no chance in hell you're doing this by yourself, Pam.
Right.
So insert the lovely Jenna Knight. We've known each other personally for years. We cross paths and we've had heart to hearts professionally. We were co-working with when I say co-working, we were working in tandem, both of us, with some clients, right? We've got complementary skill sets. She had been thinking about something similar. My lesson is I don't need to share my ideas with a million people as I'm working through refinement. She was a trusted source. I shared earlier. She had the idea. Before you know it, Women Making Impact was born.
It's beautiful.
And we launched it on International Women's Day.
I was there.
I know. My
was
voice squeaked.
there.
I'm so excited.
It was great. Yes, absolutely. It's always a good event. It was, and you had a full place.
Yeah.
It was at Blue Martini.
It was at Blue
How many people
Martini.
attended?
Oh, we sold out at, I think, 120.
Wow.
And I didn't want more because everyone needs a seat.
Yes.
Blue could pack it more, but it's not a standing room only concert, right?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
it was
beautiful.
awesome. And so, yeah, now we're able to provide a space, for women in our Kingston area where they can connect one another through online space. They can connect one another through self-care experiences, through events. They could literally ask for help on things that they're going through professionally or personally. It's been really beautiful to see like some of the wins that have come from our community, this membership community in just months. What makes me smile is because I actually knew that was possible. Right. And people are, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I was like, well, I did.
Yeah.
I knew. That's why we wanted to create this space. Because I know if you go in and ask for help, do you know what I mean? Or you're running a charity and the charity needs more money. Guess what? With however 55 plus connecting, right now we're at about 55 plus, I think, our membership. You have that many connected women and that lands on their ears. I have a feeling someone's going to jump in and have a solution. And in a town like Kingston, I love Kingston for that.
Yes.
I feel if someone needs help, or especially when people are doing good, people want to support that.
100%.
Yeah. So currently
you're
operating three
blazing-
businesses and feeling a little nuts about it some days, but back to the point. Remember I said, I don't really know if I could be Pam without that call it craziness, call it ambition. I don't know. Call it whatever you want.
It's all goodness, which is great.
I'll take that.
Right? And I think I also do a lot.
Yes, you
and
do.
have more coming up
Lots
in
of
my future
hats.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all goodness. And it's all things that I'm excited to participate in and excited to do. So when anything becomes a drain, then it's time to shed it.
Yeah.
And so... and it's
shut
just
it
time
or
to,
do it differently.
Yeah.
That's been right.
Yeah, that's really good as well. I agree.
Because, and I only say that because of my own experience.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. You're definitely a trailblazer.
Oh,
You're continuing to blaze new trails for all of us. So thank you for that. What does future Pam look like?
As you know, when anybody listening can probably tell today, I love speaking.
Yeah.
And pre-COVID, I'd say I've taken stages, I'd say, since about 20 years old, be it at conferences and organizations and whatnot. And I want to do more of that. I think definitely COVID / the end of a relationship / just moving on from things just quieted me in some spaces, not for wrong reasons, but I'm in this space again where me and my personal brand wants to get much louder.
Good.
And I'm actually excited, probably by the time this episode actually launches or you put it out to the world, a close to my heart project that I'm really excited to announce soon is I'm going to be self-publishing a book.
Yay! Congratulations.
And it's 20 years in the making.
Amazing.
And little Pammy has so much to say and so much she wants to help women with. And that just goes back to, I work with so many clients that have almost, come on, can you just write a book? Can you just write a book?
Right.
And I know it's going to be, call it a heart-wrenching, heart-filled venture for sure. Because it's like a really close to heart project. It's not, this project doesn't feel like starting another business.
Right.
This project is like the dream of the little girl who was trying to stop counting calories and live a life that she loved and didn't know how the hell to do it,
I love that.
And that dreamed of maybe one day she'd be better and she'd be helping other women. Right?
So I hope all the generations of girls and women read that.
Oh,
That's a beautiful gift that you're putting out to the world.
thank you.
Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share with everyone? What's your number one piece of advice you give your clients?
Oh, goodness. Well, you know what? I'm all about asking powerful questions.
Yep.
Right? Because again, like I said, I think often we have the answers. We just don't have the quiet, safe spaces that can help guide us there. Right? And so I ask people, if you're thinking of doing something, whatever risk it is, whatever feels vulnerable to you right now, be it in your business, be it in your professional life, be it personally, first question is, what's the worst that could happen? And I actually do want you to answer it, right? So, what is the actual worst that could happen? And then my next question to you is, as soon as you get scared and want to run, because maybe you do think of worst case scenario, is could you handle it? Because I could guarantee that anyone listening, well, your track record is obviously 100% for getting through hard shit.
Right. You're
So
still here.
even if you took the risk and you left the job and you started the business, I bet you probably have someone's couch to crash on if the business totally folded. And I also know that a full blown worst case scenario doesn't usually happen, right? And we're quite resourceful. And especially if it's something that you really want, you'll find the tenacity. And yeah, what's the worst that could happen and could you handle it? And I say that, could you handle it, with a smile, because I know that you could. I know that it might not be easy. There might be blood, sweat, tears to get back up, whether it's the heartbreak, because you said the thing that you wanted to say and you didn't get what you wanted back. That's been a piece of my story recently, right? And I share that saying, heartbreak, meaning personally and or professionally, right? Heartbreak, when something doesn't go as you wish it could go, but you've taken the time to fill your own cup, to love yourself, to intentionally build a life that you actually want to show up for, man, that's going to hold you up. And as someone who, yes, I have 3 businesses that I love right now, Shari. I have a family that's amazing. I have soul sister friends. I have all these things. I have no problem being vulnerable. I do not have the love that I want, right? That is super important to me, and I'm super hopeful for it. But the rest of it holds me up as I continue to take risks in that space.
Yeah, and you will.
Yeah.
Because the best thing that could happen is a beautiful thing that could happen for you, and you're open. And that's, I think, the way we should all approach life.
More trusting.
Yeah, perfect.
More trusting in ourselves, in our path, right?
Beautiful. Well, thank you. This has been a sheer pleasure to get to know you better and in a more intimate way. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I think it's going to help so many people. And if there's one more way I can help spread your voice, I will do it through this. And I really appreciate you sharing.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you for holding space and making the time. And who knew I could cry on a podcast? But
you can. I've done it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.